Paper 1. Topic: Modern Indian history from about the middle of the 18th century until the present. Significant events, personalities, issues. Pingali Venkayya. What to study? For prelims, contributions of Pingali Venkayya, adoption of Indian flag. For mains, flag code of India. Overview. Context: 141st birth anniversary of freedom fighter and designer of Indian national flag Pingali Venkayya was observed on August 2, 2018. Who was Pingali Venkayya? Pingali Venkayya was a freedom fighter and the designer of the Indian national tricolor. The national flag that we see today was based upon his design. Early life: born on August 2, 1876 in Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh, Venkayya served as a soldier in the British Army in South Africa during the Anglo-Boer War in Africa. A firm believer in Gandhian principles and an ardent nationalist, Venkayya met the Mahatma during the war. The evolution of Indian national flag. Between 1918 and 1921, Venkayya raised the issue of having an own flag in every session of the Congress. Back then, he was working as a lecturer in the Andhra National College in Machilipatnam. He met the Mahatma once again in Vijayawada and showed him his publication with the various designs of the flag. Acknowledging the need for a national flag, Gandhi then asked Venkayya to design a fresh one at the National Congress meeting in 1921. Initially, Venkayya came up with saffron and green colors, but it later evolved with a spinning wheel at the center and a third color, white. Lala Hans Rochsoli suggested adding a spinning wheel, showing the independent Indians who can't spin their own clothing from local fibers. The flag was officially adopted by the Indian National Congress in 1931. Sources: The Hindu. Paper 2. Topic: Appointment to various constitutional posts. Powers, functions and responsibilities of various constitutional bodies. 123rd Constitutional Amendment Bill. What to study? For prelims, key features of the bill, NCBC, roles and functions. For mains, significance and the need for constitutional status, concern overview provisions in the bill. Context: the Lok Sabha has passed the 123rd Constitutional Amendment Bill providing for a National Commission for Backward Classes as a constitutional body. Highlights of the bill. The bill provides for the grant of constitutional status to the National Commission for Backward Classes NCBC on PAR with the National Commission for Scheduled Castes and the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. Powers of the President. It states that the President may specify the socially and educationally backward classes in the various states and union territories. He may do this in consultation with the governor of the concerned state. The duties of the NCBC include investigating and monitoring how safeguards provided to the backward classes under the Constitution and other laws are being implemented and probe specific complaints regarding violation of rights. Report: the NCBC will be required to present annual reports to the President on working of the safeguards for backward classes. These reports will be tabled in Parliament and in the state legislative assemblies of the concerned states. Powers of a civil court. Under the Constitution Amendment Bill, the NCBC will have the powers of a civil court while investigating or inquiring into any complaints. These powers include summoning people and examining them on oath, II requiring production of any document or public record, and III receiving evidence. Present status of NCBC. The Supreme Court, in its final verdict in the Indira Sawhney Mandal Commission case, had directed the establishment of the NCBC as a statutory body. Based on this, a law was passed in 1993 to set up the commission. The NCBC has been examining cases for inclusion in the BC lists for the central government since then. Concerns: a widely welcomed move to grant constitutional status to the National Commission for Backward Classes NCBC has also brought with it a whiff of controversy over whether it amounts to encroaching on the domain of the states. Several opposition parties, which in general welcome the grant of constitutional status to the BC Commission, have said the bill, if enacted, would undermine federalism, as it amounts to usurping the power of state governments to prepare their own BC lists. The Centre has sought to allay these fears, saying the powers of the states would remain unaffected. In any case, the list for every state will be prepared only in consultation with